All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone. Salutations to all the I can put his word with true sincerity and with charity. As always, the name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh. Bahasham is in the name. Yahweh Shai is his son's name, who the word and he calls Jesus, and Rakha Kodash is the Holy Spirit. As always, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans are the Israelites according to the Holy Scriptures, as well as the speckled bird, the scattered Israelite foreigner, scattered amongst other nations, whose outer appearance may seem to be of those nations to whom they've been scattered to, but whose lineage through their father's line go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. As always, I'm the brother Yadira from the Great Millstone branch here in Chicago, and this is going to be a correction video to my it's private now, but it's going to be a less titled "Where's the Ark of the Covenant?" dash the Solomonid dynasty. And in that lesson, I had mentioned that Jeremiah had hid the ark in Mount Sinai, which is incorrect. He actually hid it in the mount that Moses went up to view the land. So we're going to go ahead and get in. Then we're going to get into this article. This is 2 Maccabees 2:1. It is also found in the records that Jeremiah the prophet commanded them that were carried away to take up the fire as it have been signified, and how that the prophet, having given them the law, had charged them not to forget the commandments of the Lord, and that they shall not err in their minds when they see images of silver and gold with their ornaments. Verse 3, and with other such speeches exhorted he them that the law shall not depart from their hearts. It was also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of the Most High, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him as he went forth into the mountain where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of the Most High. So from there, we're going to jump to Deuteronomy chapter 34 and verse 1. It says, and Moses went up from the plains of Moab unto the mountain of Nebo to the top of Pisgah, that is over Jericho, and the Lord showed him all the land of Gilead, unto Dan. It says, in all Naphtali, and all the land of Ephraim, Manasseh, and the land of Judah, unto the utmost sea. It says, in the south, in the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees, unto Zoar. And Yahweh said unto him, this is the land which I swear unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, saying, I will give it unto thy seed. I have caused thee to see it with thy eyes, but thou shalt not go over thither. So the mount that Moses went up and viewed the land, verse 1, it says, and Moses went up from the plains of Moab unto the mountain of Nebo to the top of Pisgah, that is over against Jericho. You see, so going back to the 2 Maccabees 2 and verse 5, it's like verse 4, it is also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of God, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him as he went forth into the mountain where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of the Most High. So in my last video, I had said it was that he hid it in Mount Sinai, which is incorrect. He hid it in the mountain that Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of the Most High, which is what we just read in Deuteronomy 34, the mountains of the plain of Nebo, the plains of Moab unto the mountain of Nebo. So that's where the ark is located. It's not this big, deep, huge secret and there's no mystery. That's why the scriptures tell you, Isaiah 34 and 16, seek ye out the book of the Lord and read. You see, what's the book of the Lord? The Holy Scriptures. No one of these shall fail, none shall want her mate, for my mouth it have commanded, and his spirit it have gathered them. So in order to understand understand what's written and everything, to know, which is what science means, you got to seek it out the book of the Lord. And the spirit had me touch on this this question that came into my mind, because when you go into just asking what is modern day asking this question, I got this, as you can see right here, I got on this article. It says, where is the Ark of the Covenant? It says, Jewish and Christian traditions present the Ark of the Covenant as a physical manifestation of God's presence and supreme power. Ancient Israelites marched the Ark into battle and brought the whole city to their knees. The Ark was so sacred that touching it meant instant death, and once it was laid to rest in the temple of Jerusalem's holiest chamber, only the high priest was allowed in his presence, and only once a year. Then Babylon sacked Jerusalem in the 6th century BCE, and the ark disappeared. In the thousands of years since, its fate has stymied readers of history, Perhaps most famously, it inspired Steven Spielberg's blockbuster Indiana Jones film, Raiders of the Lost Ark. It says, finding the Ark's real location probably doesn't involve an adventuring archaeologists and secretive Nazis, but what do we know about the Ark's final resting place? It says, one of the most well-known theories about the Ark is linked to Ethiopia's 14th century national epic, the Kebra Negus. According to this account, the Queen of Sheba visited King Solomon in Jerusalem during the 10th century BCE and had a son by him on her journey home. Their son, named Menelik, returned to Jerusalem once he was of age. Although Menelik ultimately chose to go back to his mother, Solomon sent with him a company of Jewish scions. But unbeknownst to Solomon or Menelik, these companions, frustrated about leaving Jerusalem, decided to take a souvenir of sorts, the Ark of the Covenant, and this is false. And this is a fable that's found in the Kebra Negus, which is a false book, a false doctrine. It says, and with the Ark at his side, he later conquered a number of surrounding territories for what would become the Ethiopian Empire. You see? So let's go into, I got a few precepts regarding that. And matter of fact, let me finish this off because we just proved that the Ark of the Covenant is somewhere in the plains of Moab and Mount Nebo. So 2 Maccabees 2, and then we're going to go back to that Solomon point. 2 Maccabees 2 and verse 4, it was also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of the Most High, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him as he went forth into the mountain where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of the Most High. It says, and when Jeremiah came thither, he found an hollow cave where he laid the tabernacle and the ark in the altar of incense and stopped the door. And some of those that followed him came to the mark. It's like it came to mark the way, but they could not find it. Which when Jeremiah perceived, he blamed them, saying, as for that place, it shall be unknown until the time that God gather his people again together and receive them unto mercy. So ultimately, Jeremiah, he hid the ark in a hollow cave, and he basically sealed up the location of it. And you had people that followed him trying to mark the path. And ultimately, the Lord ended up hiding it, blocking it. It's going to be unfound until he comes back and deliver his people. And a point I wanted to make was all the ancient prophets always knew and always prophesied that the Lord, ultimate determination, Isaiah the 14th chapter, was to have mercy on Israel, save Israel, the elect. You see? Verse 8, it says, then shall the Lord show these things, and the glory of the Lord shall appear in the cloud also, and it was shown under Moses, as when Solomon desired that the place might be honorably sanctified. It was also declared that he, being wise, offered the sacrifice of dedication and of the finishing of the temple. So that whole narrative that we just read right here in this article from Britannica from this account in the Kebra Negus is off. King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, they never had an intimate relationship. Otherwise, it would have been recorded. They never had a son. Otherwise, it would have been recorded. This is in 1 Kings, the 10th chapter, is the actual account of the Queen of Sheba coming and visiting Solomon. But I'm going to read verse 42. It's like in 1 Kings 11 and 42. It says, and at the time that Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel was 40 years. And Solomon slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David, his father, in Rehoboam. His son reigned in his stead. You see? So the only son of Solomon that's mentioned in the scriptures is Rehoboam. You see? It didn't mention a Menelik. If he did have a second son or a son by the Queen of Sheba, the Holy Scriptures would have recorded it. And he damn sure wouldn't have went to Ethiopia with the Queen of Sheba. Nah, man, especially if he's a son of the king. Nah, he would have stayed with Solomon. But that's neither here nor there. Point being, the only son that's mentioned is Rehoboam. 1 Kings 11 and 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites. So, and these are the women that's recorded that Queen Solomon dealt with, right? I don't see the Queen of Sheba there. It says, of the nations concerning which Yahweh said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go in unto them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. And Solomon's sin wasn't that he went with other women's nation. It's like with other nations' women, but he went with other nations' women, and he ended up worshiping their gods. They turned his heart away, because you can deal with other nations' women. But it says, verse 3, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. Point being, the Queen of Sheba is not mentioned. Therefore, this whole account that we read in from the Kebra Negus is void. You see? Continuing on, it says, the Kebra Negus and its account of the ark are major parts of Ethiopia's national history, although many scholars now believe that the text to be apocryphal. Let me see what that word is. It says apocryphal are written works often of unknown authorship or doubtful origin. It says Ethiopia's medieval dynasty called the Solomonic dynasty claimed direct descent from Menelik and Solomon, which that whole thing is void. We just read the son of Solomon, Rehoboam, and his wives. The Queen of Sheba was not mentioned. It says this dynasty ruled until 1974, and their biblical connection was codified in Emperor Haile Selassie's 1931 and 1955 constitutions. Let me look up that word. Let me see this really quick. It says, apart from the Ethiopian government, the country's largest religious denomination, the Eastern Orthodox Tawahedo Church, understands the Kebra Negus to be legitimate Christian history, and that you have Israelites over in Ethiopia because we are scattered into all four corners of the earth, into every nation. But as far as Solomon having a son that ended up creating a dynasty, nah, man, that's a myth. Let's grab this really quick. This is This is 1 Timothy 1 and 3. And as I besought thee to abide at Ephesus when I went into Macedonia, that thou mightest charge some that they teach no other doctrine. You see, so the only thing we need to be teaching and prophesying is what's written in the good book, the Holy Scriptures. It says, neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies, which minister questions rather than godly edifying, which is in faith. So do. You see, so we're not to give heed to fables. What's a fable? Is G3454. Mythos. It says a narrative, a story, a speech, word, saying, fiction, fable, an invention, a falsehood. You see? Tuition. It says a tale of fiction, a myth. And that's all of this Solomonic dynasty is. It's a falsehood. It's a myth. It says this dynasty ruled until, I'm going to jump down. It says the Kebra Negus to be legitimate Christian history. According to the church leaders, the Ark of the Covenant has for centuries been closely guarded in Exum at the Church of Saint Mary of Zion. Not even the high priest of Exum can enter its resting chambers. Its sole custodian is a virgin monk who cannot leave the sacred grounds until his death. The Ark's influence, though it felt throughout the Ethiopian Orthodox world, each one of their churches houses his own tabat, a sacred replica of the Ark. Tablets are kept in the Quedes Kudus of Holies of Holies, blah, 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 and are only taken out during the festival times of need. Indeed, each tablet itself is venerated as it were the Ark itself. And we know that that's all false because we just read in the Holy Scriptures exactly what happened to the to the Ark of the Covenant. Isaiah 55 and 2. Wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfieth not? Hearken diligently unto me, and eat ye that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness. And that's this word. That's this knowledge, wisdom, understanding, which the Scriptures already told us to seek ye out the book of the Lord and read. This is the truth. This is where we get all the understanding. That's where we get all the understanding. That's what we know. You see? Isaiah 8:20, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. You see, so if you claim anything or bring in a certain claim regarding the Holy Scriptures, you got to back it up with the Holy Scriptures. You see, it says, despite being an integral part of Ethiopian Orthodoxy, the nature of the ark's supposed guardianship at Exon has made the church's claim to ownership unverifiable. Most historians think that if it existed, the more than 3,000-year-old relic either disintegrated over time or was destroyed. But this too is only speculation. For many, the final fate of the ark remains a fascinating mystery and a perhaps unsolvable one. And it's not either or, because we just read in 2 Maccabees and Deuteronomy 34 exactly where it's located and when it's to be revealed, which is when the Lord comes back. This is just a screenshot. It says the Solomonic dynasty. It says the Solomonic dynasty, also known as the House of Solomon, was the ruling dynasty of the Ethiopian Empire formed in the 13th century. Its members claim lineal descent from the biblical King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. It says founder Menelik the First, which we know all that is just a falsehood. 1 Timothy 4:6, if thou put the brethren in remember of these things, that thou shalt be a good minister of Yahushua Mashiach, nourished up in the words of faith and of good doctrine, whereunto thou hast attained. Right, so you got to be nourished up of this good doctrine, this word of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, not nothing else. Damn sure not the keeper negus. It says, but refuse profane and old wise fables but it's like it. Let me read that again. 1 Peter 4:7, but refuse profane and old wise fables, and exercise thyself rather unto godliness. You see, so refuse these meaningless, profane, outside of the temple, vain, old wise fables, man, old sayings, man, old stories, inventions, myths. You see, delight yourself in this fatness, which is the Holy Scriptures, man. You don't got to be 3 deep, be 1 deep. This is a screenshot from the Wikipedia.com, because they mentioned something in here that ultimately it's void, makes void. It says the Keber Negus, or the Glory of Kings, is a 14th century national epic from Ethiopia, written by Ge'ez by Neber Id Ishkak of Agsuk, by the office of Abuna Abba, and at the command of the government of Enderta. The text in its existence form is at least 700 years old, and although clearly legendary, is considered by many Ethiopian Christians to be a historically reliable work. It is considered to hold the genealogy of the Solomonic dynasty, which followed the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. And we just prove that there was no union between the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon, which makes this whole book void. It says the text contains an account of how the Queen of Sheba, Queen Makeda of Ethiopia, met King Solomon, and about, you can read that in 1 Kings 10, and about how the Ark of the Covenant came to Ethiopia with their son Menelik. Now here it is, Uzzah, because this is what happened to Uzzah. This is let's read this. This 2 Samuel 6, we'll start at 1. And David gathered together all of the chosen men of Israel, 30,000. And David arose and went with all the people that were with him from Baal of Judah to bring up from thence the ark of the Most High, whose name is called by the name of Yahweh of hosts, that dwelleth between the cherubims. And they set the ark of the Most High upon a new cart, and brought it out of the house of Abinadab that was in Gibeah, and Uzzah and Ahio, the sons of Abinadab, drave the new cart. It says, and they brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was at Gibeah, accompanying the ark of the Most High. And Ahio went before the ark, and David and all the house of Israel played before the Lord on all manner of instruments made of fir wood, even on harps and of psalteries and of timbrels and on cornets and on cymbals. And when they came to Nekon's threshing floor, Uzzah put forth his hand to the ark of the Most High and took hold of it, for the oxen shook it. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and the Most High smote him there for his error, and there he died by the ark of the Most High. Here it is. Here it is. The Lord struck down Uzzah for just touching the ark. But here it is. Some science from according to that myth that we read out of that Kebra account from Britannica. It says that King Solomon he went with he got with the Queen of Sheba, had a son. Later down the line, his son went back with the Queen of Sheba, and the people that he sent to accompany his son stole the ark and brought it to Ethiopia, and they start conquering shit. And that's cap, man. Here it is. The Lord struck down Uzzah for just touching it, but yet somebody can steal it and nothing happens. We also read that the Philistines stole the ark, right? And the Lord plagued them. You see? So, hey, this makes that whole doctrine, that whole book void. It says the text... we just go ahead and finish it out. It says the text contains an account how the Queen of Sheba, Queen Makeda of Ethiopia, met King Solomon about how the Ark of the Covenant came to Ethiopia with the son Menelik. It also discusses the conversion of Ethiopians from the worship of the sun, moon, and stars to that of the Lord God of Israel, as the Ethiopianist Edward Ulander explained in the 1967 Sequist Lectures. The Kebra Negus is not merely a literary work, but it is the repository of Ethiopian national and religious feelings. It says, have been described as an Abyssinian political religious epic in medieval era mythology. Nadia Nehrusian wrote that the Kebra Nebers gave textual authority to a then newly articulated mythology of Abyssinia's long imperial history, legitimizing a Solomonic dynasty that claimed to reach back 3,000 years earlier to the union of King Solomon and supposed Ethiopian Queen of Sheba, enabled to overthrow a Zagwe dynasty. But it seems we hit all the points in here. Yehorathazai was edifying, and we leave it at that. Lord willing, was an edifying lesson called Halayim La, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahushai Bahasham, Rechak Kodash. The bonus to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone. Salutations to all the Akim. Push the word with true sincerity and with charity. Shalom, Barakatham, wa Baba Ball.